Welcome back to the channel. But later than planned, but we're here. Big game day preview ahead of tomorrow night. I mean, we've got Mickey Mac, Spurs, legendary fan, Andy. Look ahead to tomorrow night's game in the FA Cup as well. Massive competition. Mickey probably has fond memories of the FA Cup, as do a lot of fans. So, Mickey, great to have you with us. Big game tomorrow night. I've called it the litmus test. Spurs, we near enough their full strength team. Obviously, we've got a few players away at international duty, but all or not, everyone's back, including Maddison. Man City as well, near enough at full strength, bar Haaland. De Bruyne is back. So both teams in good shape coming into the game. Both teams in quite good form. And it's the FA Cup. I mean, you looking forward to the game?
Certainly looking forward to the game, yes. Probably more confident than at any time. I think the last time we were on here speaking about Man City and Spurs was the
Cup final.
The League Cup final 4 years ago, was it, or 3 years ago? Just after the sack Mourinho.
3 years ago, would it be this April?
3 years ago. So definitely more confident in that. Spurs are actually playing excellent at the moment. Probably one of the best teams to watch in the Premiership at the moment, without doubt. From a neutral point of view, I was actually talking to a few boys in Ange today, and they were saying the same thing. They were Liverpool and Man United fans, and they're saying they're just so good to watch, you know. And Ange has them playing well, I have to say, and they know what direction they're going on. I mean, that's perfect.
We're only
on the pitch and off the field, you know.
We're only 2 minutes in, and you've mentioned Ange's name already. So I want to focus on Spurs this season so far. And the first person I want to mention is Ange, like you did there. I mean, have you been surprised at how well Spurs have done? Because I heard off a source that you had a bet with somebody that it would be sacked by Christmas. So you must be surprised at how well he's done.
Well, funny enough, that turned out to be a non-truth.
The source wasn't he wasn't being truthful then.
The source was telling lies. Yes. Having said that, I believe them because I might have been full one night when I had the discussion with him, you know. And he actually
there's a few small legs put away.
He had me believe right up to Christmas that I could do the. And funny enough, in the back of my mind, he says, "No way I've done that bit," you know. But leaving that aside, no, I'm shocked at Ange, to tell you the truth. Totally shocked. I never heard of the fella in my life until Celtic won the treble. The second time round there, just the weekend before he was linked with Tottenham. Never heard of him in my life because number one, I don't follow Scottish football, don't follow Celtic. I couldn't tell you when they play and when they do. I just do not follow Scottish football. But the weekend of Celtic winning the cup, it was all over Sky Sports that he was linked with Tottenham, and that's when I really sort of looked in and went, "Who's this guy?" You know, and from then, absolutely fantastic. And funny enough, what he's done is amazing. Not only has he turned the club around the field, but I think the whole philosophy of the club has turned around. And I saw it actually. He was only there about 3 or 4 weeks, and I remember watching every friendly in my Harry Kane before weeks before he left, and a Barcelona game. They were beat by Barcelona, like 4-2 on a friendly or whatever, but played so well. The one-touch football was unbelievable, and you can actually see it in them early stages, 3 or 4 weeks. Now, what he's done or how he gets that across to his players, I do not know, and it seems to culminated on also Spurs transfer policy or window turning out to be 100%. So he's definitely got a magic wand. And when you look back at what Spurs were playing last season, I mean, you actually text me and rang me and asked me to go to matches, and I totally refused. I mean, I wasn't even watching Tottenham on Match of the Day. They were that boring to watch.
It was a tough watch. Plenty watching here as well, so make sure you stick on comments and we can put them on the screen if you've got any questions or you want to comment on some of your topics. But no, I totally agree, Mickey. Last year was as bad as I can remember being a Spurs fan, probably since the Juan de Ramos start to the season where they were in relegation form and bottom of the league. But even if they won, it wasn't enjoyable. You felt like we were getting away with it, and it was just a real chore. Whereas this year, and it's probably been one of them things where, because we haven't been in Europe, it feels like we're always waiting for a long time for a game. But the excitement lead up to a game, during the game, and even after the game, you just can't wait for the next one. Even when they lose, like you think back, even that run they had, they lost to Villa, lost to West Ham. You know, there were good performances on there. They just couldn't put the ball in the net. You know, and a lot of players injured, and that was one thing that Conte complained about. We didn't have a squad. Well, our squad was dropped apart for 7 or 8 weeks there. And Ange, yes, there was bits of quality missing, but the identity and the philosophy remained the same, doesn't it?
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, before Spurs hit the pitch tomorrow night, we know they're going to do one thing: they're going to attack. You know, ask any Man United fan tomorrow how Man United's going to play, and they'll say, we don't know what's going to turn up. You know, and plus the fact it's actually a credit not only to the first team squad, but I mean, we had a lot of injuries there. We got away with it for 10 games. We had Maddison, blah 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 blah. We had. Well, we hadn't got 2 centre halves, and 2 boys stood on the centre half, a right and left back, but they still knew the game plan. And okay, we lost 4 matches, but them 4 matches we lost were great to watch. And like, if Spurs get bit 5-4 tomorrow night, it'll be a great watch.
That's it. You're tech. At least last year, even they were winning games 1-0, you were like, this is terrible. Whereas, I know what you mean. There's a lot of positives on the defeats. And you mentioned the state of play, and it's split a lot of football people. I think the majority of Spurs fans are enjoying it. But, you know, obviously from the rival fans and the media, there's this sort of divide amongst pundits. You know, we've heard Neville, Carragher have had their say, you know, that maybe this state of play ain't sustainable. We've seen a few injuries, we hamstrings, you know. The goal against United, they conceded after 2 minutes. Played very well in the game, but they seem to concede plenty of goals. But then the flip side is that we have more training time, better players back now in injury, maybe more players coming in the summer. For me, I think they'll only get better in this system.
Yeah, I mean, his style of play, it's quick one-touch move, press, move forward very quickly. Takes a lot of fitness, total fitness. You need to be on the ball. I think the Spurs players, and I was going back there on his Celtic days, etc. On his first season in Celtic, there was a lot of players had hamstring problems. I think due to the total intensity of the training,
as well,
and training, you know, and like Man City need to be on the ball tomorrow night, because I mean, I know Spurs are going to not stop running for 100 minutes tomorrow night. Of Man City. Even try to calm it down a wee bit, Spurs will overrun, you know. So, and by the way, another thing, you can't take this man for granted. He's number one. He's very straight. He's brilliant with the media, top class with the media. He puts them in their place when he has to. He doesn't let a coach take him for granted. Every job he's been on, he's had different coaches. Because let's be honest, Gareth, you're a coach yourself. You know, if you're working for a boy for 10 years, you're going to take his tactics and philosophy for granted. He doesn't give you a chance to do that, you know.
I think he's very, very good at uniting people together. Because, like, one of the things I only focus on is, we heard in the summer the likes of Højbjerg was looking to move on, you know, wasn't guaranteed first team football. But when he's come on, he's done a decent job. Skip he's been on the fringes, played very well at Man United last week. I'm not his biggest fan, but he come on, done a good job. Royale, we heard in the summer, could be moved on. We're still hearing in January, Saudi Arabia team's interested. He's come on, done pretty well at centre back a couple of times, maybe on the ball. It's been a wee bit harder for him, but I think especially the Burnley game in the FA Cup, he was brilliant. There's been some notable performers. Ben Davies coming on at centre back. A lot of fans maybe thought it was time to move him on. He seems to be getting the very best out of the players, and that takes 2 things. 1, a good coach, but 2, the players buying into what you're doing. And he seems to have united the whole dressing room. Doesn't matter if you're in the starting 11, you're on the bench, or you might even be in the squad if everyone's fit. But everybody seems to want to play for this man. We could have seen in the summer Ryan Missons had 2 caretaker roles. He could have said, you know what, I need to move on. He decided to stick. with Ange, and Chris Davis, the assistant, turned down the manager's job at Swansea to stay with Ange. So all the signs point to, and we've even seen in January, early first 10 days, Levy's put his hand in his pocket and spent money on a centre back. I know he got Werner on loan, but he's paid 25 million for centre back. So it seems to be that he's got everybody on the one sheet.
Well, actually, I don't know will he's with a magic wand. He's his own man. He's his own style. I mean, to be fair, they present that style to a footballer. It's easy to win a footballer over. Maddison already says it. You know, I mean, if a boy goes to you and shouts on the pitch and get forward, don't get back. Like, I mean, tomorrow, like, my dream midfield tomorrow would be Kulusevski with Maddison. You know, maybe Hobbier or Bentancur. You know, 6, 8, and 10. Like, you know, I'm 3 in front of them. You know, that's all right. Like, you know, and they've been told.
Mickey, there's a question on the screen for you going to come on here. Justin McLaughlin's looking to know what the pints are like on the 19th, and he's showing football matches.
Say that again. What's the pint?
Justin McLaughlin, Paul Sons, looking to know is there any pints going on the 19th.
Yeah, that's my new logo. That burned down full time. If anybody doesn't know what burned down. Tell Justice when they
Callum Martinez son saying, Justin, you're more than welcome. They come down the 19th, Mikey says. Callum Martinez son saying that he reminds me of Klopp. He's come on and galvanised the club, player and fans. Remains to be seen what success will come, but it's positive for Spurs fans. I mean, that is the positive now. He's got, as you say, Romero and Van de Ven come back last week. Maddison back now this weekend. Bentancur seems to have come over his injury problems and even come back from his injury early. They start to play again, another sign that they all want to play for Ange. Sarr, Basuma, Son will be back from the AFCON in the next week or two. So they could be sitting with a fully fit squad going into February, Mickey. I mean, how strong do you think Spurs could finish the season if they kind of get where they were in the first 10 games of everybody being fit and available? And even maybe losing the odd player is fine. I think it's very unlikely to lose all their players at the one time again, like what happened there between November and sort of January. But I mean, if they can keep the bulk of the squad fit, and they've only really got the FA Cup, well, hopefully they still get the FA Cup after tomorrow night. But even just in the Premier League, they've nothing else to worry about in terms of Europe. They could possibly finish the season quite strong.
Without doubt. A fully fit team, that's scary, wasn't it? Seriously scary. And bear in mind, their second string, as I call them, have stepped up to the mark throughout all of the injuries. And as I say, they know, they seem to know, or he's got into them the way he wants them to play. A relative who is on the pitch. And we've done very well with the main players being out. I mean, we need a serious bit of luck. But I definitely.
I mean, I think you make like if they had their even if they had Maddison against Man United, they probably won that game. They just lacked a bit of quality in the final third. They actually played quite well.
Well, I mean, they had a new debut in the final third, but they go to Manchester United and dominate possession at Old Trafford. I mean, this is the team that Ferguson used to say, listen, Paul, it's only Spurs, So that's the way Spurs were looked on. But I mean, without doubt, they would. Apart from and actually, we threw the game away against Tottenham through high pressing, but that's brilliant. If you lost a game through high pressing, I don't mind. But no, definitely, I see them top four without doubt. But give me a trophy any day.
That's a good, interesting topic. We'll discuss it at the very end. Spurs will be easy top four if they have a full squad between now and May. I won't say. I mean, Mickey, it's time for a history lesson because Spurs and Man City have produced some epic cup ties, and you'll probably remember them all. Me, not so much. So you're a good man for this part of the show. Because I think obviously it's become a modern day rivalry in terms of Man City have become massive, but the fact that all right, Spurs haven't been really winning anything, but they seem to be always taking points off Man City, even sometimes away from home, but especially this home record, which we'll come on to speak about. But I mean, the most famous one for me, and you'll remember it, I wasn't born, was the 1981 Cup final. It was 1-1 the first time, and then back then it was a replay if it went to a final, and Spurs won the game 3-2. But at 2-2, you just don't know what's going to happen, and then step forward, Ricky Villa, and he scores one of the most memorable goals in FA Cup history, definitely one of the most memorable in a final. Mickey, talk me through the emotions and what the game is like, and then the goal.
Well, the first match
was a 1-1, wasn't it?
It was a 1-1, yeah. I watched that match in Fair Park, funny enough. It was a boring enough match. Excuse me, but I wasn't here. But the second match was unbelievable. I mean, I just remember that run by Villa, and you've got to bear in mind too, the FA Cup at that time was massive. I mean, you get up at 9 o'clock in the morning to watch the match. You watch when players go for their breakfast. Excuse me 1 second.
Like he's got a bit of one there, He's going to pour himself a glass of water. But Villa was actually a fantastic goal. If anyone hasn't seen it, you'll be able to get it on YouTube. But he beats 2 or 3 players, goes past an R1 and whips it into a corner. And Spurs won the game 3-2. The next game we're actually looking at was a bit of a bad one for Spurs. I think everyone kind of remembers that, the FA Cup turnaround. And then obviously most recently the Champions League game. So the 3 games we're going to focus on. All epic games in different ways, all memorable ties in different ways. I mean, hopefully we see one tomorrow night and Spurs come out the right side of it. Coming up after this, we're going to be looking at Man City's record at the Spurs Stadium, which is, I mean, hard to believe. If you haven't seen it, it's madness. And then we're going to look back at tomorrow night's game, Spurs and Man City, where the game could be won and lost, and what we think will happen. Mickey, we were talking about Ricky Villa there.
Yes, there you go.
The players come on at 9 in the morning for breakfast. I remember my dad saying to me something about this, that the build-up started from 9 o'clock and the final was at 3.
Yeah, well, the FA Cup, in my day, I mean, you weren't born. The FA Cup was, I mean, if you had offered a team, they won what's called the Premiership now, but they were Division 1 or the FA Cup. And when they chose the FA Cup, that was massive. You know, it's the oldest competition in the world. It's played over 10 months. You know, I mean, people say to me just today, funny enough, Mickey, would you rather Spurs won a cup or finish
Top
4th? You know, I mean, to me, it's the FA Cup, and I'll tell you even better. I actually put the FA Cup ahead of the Champions League. The Champions League is the Champions League is monopolised. When it was called the European Cup, and Celtic won it in '67, you know, it was a European Cup. It's now a money cup. They've more entries coming on this season, and it's just money. It's all money.
36 teams next year.
And let's be honest. What's the chances of Tottenham winning the Champions League next season? Right.
It's very unlikely.
Very unlikely. So they have a chance.
But to be fair, they've been closer to winning the Champions League in the last 20 years, and they haven't been in an FA Cup final since '91 when they won it.
Yes, correct. But then they didn't put the emphasis on it. I think Ange will put the emphasis on the FA Cup. He's 6 matches away from a major trophy. If he knocks out Man City, he's not going to.
Do you look at the way I do, that this is a better draw than playing Man City in a final? You'd rather play them at home this early on, wouldn't you?
Well, if you want to win a trophy, you're going to. It doesn't matter who you draw. You're going to have to beat them anyway. You know, okay. Some people say, maybe you could have got an easier draw. To me, it doesn't matter when you meet them. You have 6 games to play. Anybody that's won an FA Cup has won every game. They get there, no matter who they played. And naturally, it'll be. If Spurs beat Manchester City tomorrow night, all our young teams, all our teams, even like a Liverpool, will be laughing, they'll be going, "So we've a chance, you know."
That's it.
So we're doing all our teams a favour.
Interesting. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
But getting back to 1981, that team there, that team in 1980 was phenomenal. I mean, you had Ardiles, Hoddle, Tony Calvin. The team you had then was unbelievable. And I mind that the replay was I think it was a Thursday night, and it was just unbelievable. That run by Villa is just one Villa, unbelievable. And that's a glory days that Spurs fans want to see. And I don't believe, I mean, if somebody says to me Champions League tomorrow or FA Cup, I'll go FA Cup. I actually I still will hold the FA Cup way ahead of the Champions League. It's
interesting because I think you make a good point. Like, you still remember Ricky Villa's goal in 1981, but you probably couldn't remember who Spurs beat on the last day of the season 2 years ago. They finished with Arsenal. They finished fourth.
No,
you wouldn't remember. Do you know what I mean? It's not a glory day. Interestingly, the last time these two teams met in the FA Cup was in round 4 in 2004. The first game was a 1-1 draw at Man City. And then one of the most remarkable comebacks in FA Cup history happened in the replay. Spurs led 3-0 at half time. And when the referee blew the half-time whistle, Joey Burton had too much, they say, the referee gets himself sent off. So Spurs are now playing the second half against 10 men and somehow managed to concede 4 second-half goals against a 10-man bucket Man City side. Now, this was a terrible Man City team. It wasn't a great Spurs team either. But no team should lose a game 3-0 up against 10 men. And Spurs totally capitulated. I mean, do you remember? I mean, I was very young. I think vividly I remember watching the first half and I had to go to bed because at school in the morning. Woke up the next day and they were beat 4-3 and I couldn't believe it. Well, so you'll remember more of it.
I watched the first half. Kevin Keegan was the manager at the time. And I didn't watch the second half. Because I didn't watch it. I said, fuck this here, And I was downstairs in a river run, and I said, no, what? And then somebody tapped me on the shoulder and says, Millie, go on down and take a look. I'd say I don't think there was too many TVs at them days. I had to go up the stairs and watch the TV. Listen, that's the beauty about the FA Cup. You don't know what's going to happen in the FA Cup. I mean, every team gets a shot of adrenaline.
But I've never ever heard of any team being 3-0 up against them men and losing.
Spurs were 3-0 up against Man United, and we're bit 5-3-2 in the league, but that's not the point.
It's 11v11, I suppose, against the juggernaut. But I mean, John Mackin scored a winner, and I don't think he'd done anything ever again. Do you think it was just one of them nights where it was like written on the stars for Man City?
It had to be a one-off night, because then the FA Cup was a very important trophy to win. And to me, as I say today, I'm delighted that we've got a manager now that appreciates, because I watched the programme on the FA Cup, he appreciates the FA Cup, he appreciates what it's all about. He knows it starts in the summer. It starts it starts on a Sunday morning,
Qualifier, sorry.
Sunday morning, and that's where in the world will you get a competition that starts in a park, on a Sunday morning? And anybody can enter, can't they? Really? That team going out in the park on a Sunday morning before midday mass, have a chance of going to Wembley. Whether they ever make it or not doesn't matter. But they're in the same.
I think it's impossible now with the money enough.
Obviously, but I mean, the point of it is they're in the same competition as Manchester City, Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Spurs.
It's funny because, like you mentioned them.
FA Cup.
You mentioned all them teams. You say there's a team in the park dreaming of Wembley. Never going to happen. But you go back, 125 years ago, Spurs, the only non-league team, they won the FA Cup in 1901. But obviously times have changed. But back then, as you say, that's probably made it so special.
I mean, the two luckiest men, the first probably 2 foreign players on the England was probably also Ardiles and Ricky Villa in 1978 after the World Cup. And
And they won the World Cup.
they joined Tottenham for one reason, because of the FA Cup. That's all they joined Tottenham for. You're talking
And then
elsewhere.
obviously the song, Aldi's Dream.
So that's how well thought of the FA Cup. The FA Cup was bigger than the European Cup worldwide. Worldwide. I mean, the FA Cup's the oldest competition ever in the world of soccer, of football, right? It's known worldwide. Players' ambitions at that time was not they won the old Division One. It was they won the FA Cup. It wasn't the European Cup. It was they won the FA Cup.
As you say, we're going to speak about an hour competition in the minute, the more glamour competition that everyone sort of looks to now. What just now that you're here, what do you think the future holds for the FA Cup now with this new European format? The Champions League's coming on. We're hearing that the World Cup could move to 64 teams. As you say, monopolies, more teams, more games, more money, more TV money. Where do you think we'll be in, say, 20 years' time with the FA Cup?
Oh, God, I'll not be here, am I? You know, I was 6 foot under. Anyway, leaving that aside, I fear for it, but having said that, it's still the reason that it's so prestige to me at the minute, because it's not about money winning the FA Cup. It's not about the prize money. It's about proper football, going through proper rounds. I mean, anybody's in the European Cup, it's about money. As you say, the World Cup. Soccer, unfortunately, football, stroke soccer, whatever you want to call it, has been destroyed by money. Totally another. And VAR. VAR's a joke. VAR's a joke. You know,
that's funny you mentioned VAR, because it's going to have a topic on our next game, the final game we're going to look at between these two teams. Sterling thought he won it. Was that what the Spurs fans turned up their song after the game? But VAR ruled out Sterling's last-minute goal at Man City's ground. Spurs progressed to the semi-final and away goals with a tie at 4-4. So a more recent game. Again, the last time the two teams met in a cup was that Champions League game. So, you know, you look at it, when these two teams meet in cups, it's usually quite interesting. But I mean, Mickey, that's a more recent memory. I think for the modern day fans like me, that was one of the great nights in Spurs and Spurs' history in terms of, you know, getting to a Champions League semi-final. We'd never been there, and, you know, in recent times since the Champions League was reformatted. And then they obviously went to the final in an even more extraordinary circumstance and lost the final. But, I mean, that was an hour belter tie. Lost the game 4-3 on the night. But, I mean, that could have been any score. I mean, it was just end to end. And that was kind of the tail end of the attacking football that we've seen. You know, 6 months later, it was no longer, because Pochettino was sacked, and, you know, we've went through a really bad patch since. But that's kind of where the Spurs fans' heads are at now. They're back on that. You know, when we drew Man City in that quarterfinal, even though Man City were the best team, Spurs fans were confident, thinking if we turn up, we can get through. Similar to tomorrow night. You know, that was the case then as well.
I remember I went to the first leg of that match at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
That's right.
And they won 1-0. And I mind watching the second leg. Actually, the second leg on here, I went to the toilet. And Patrick got on and Connor on. And I couldn't believe it when Sterling scored the offside, you know. And then the next match was fantastic. Funny enough, them two quarterfinals and semi-finals of the Champions League, the Liverpool games were brilliant too, you know. But look, for me, Man City are Spurs and Man City's bogey team at the moment. I mean, they haven't scored a goal. Spurs Stadium, which, to be fair now, I think they'll break that duck tomorrow night, you know, because we'll probably play our high line will be in their 18-yard line, you know. So,
I mean, can you is that how you see it tomorrow night? Do you see it being an hour classic game for the neutral?
Oh, without it. I mean, anybody that I've been speaking to, football related, have congratulated Tottenham on that. They're just great to watch, you know, and they are. There's no doubt about it. And like Spurs are bit 6-0 tomorrow night. they're camped on the 18-yard line. Happy days. At least they're trying. I mean, we were sitting here last year, Gareth, bored to tears. I mean, I mean, you texted me and said, you don't want to go. There's no fucking way I'd spend a penny.
You said you'll never be back as Conte's manager.
Wouldn't be back, like, they go there, they spend that money. They watch, I mean, take a like a Porro there, right?
Porro. He's been reborn.
He's a different player under Ange because, that has Ange's game is right up Porro Street, like, you know what I mean? And even young Oliver Skip, he's not the technically the best, but he just does work for the team. You know,
even Bentancur, the games he's played looks better under him as well.
You know, I mean, and like, who would have tried Kulusevski as an number 8? Like,
he's not afraid. He's not afraid to match up. And like as you said, that Man City game, Bentancur was thrashing the ball on the 6-yard box under the United net. You know, he wouldn't have got over the halfway line. You know, Kane and Son were lucky to get the halfway line under Conte. You know, when I'm seeing Spurs attack, they can sometimes have 7 or 8 players in the box trying to score a goal.
And it's not that he's not afraid to attack. He believes in his players. Totally. Doesn't matter what player you're, he believes in his players. I mean, there's Johnson at the moment, couldn't cross his legs. But at the end of the day, he might come better. You know, anybody believes in him and he's going, and I would say he'll probably play him tomorrow night, you know. But listen, it's so refreshing to watch. Anybody that doesn't enjoy watching, as a neutral, doesn't enjoy watching Tottenham tomorrow night, shouldn't be watching football at all, you know. There's one thing we're guaranteed, which we couldn't have said here last year, and says that we're on for a cracker of a match tomorrow night.
It's a different kind of game. You did mention it there a couple months ago about Man City's record at the Spurs Stadium. It has turned into a bit of a graveyard ground. 5 losses, 5 games they played there, lost 5 games there, haven't scored a goal there. Must, I think, update as it's either 2 or 3 penalties they've missed on them games as well. You know, Lloris couldn't save penalties, but he always saved them against Man City for whatever reason. And Spurs do have this very strange record where if you look at it, bar that game you're at, Mickey, that was the first game and the Spurs played Man City. Yeah. The rest of them were under Mourinho, Nuno, and Conte, who were very unsuccessful and very unpopular managers with their style of play. Yet all 3 of them managed to beat Pep when Spurs were going through a tough time. I mean, I think that was down to maybe we'll look at it in a minute, but there's reasons why maybe them managers were successful in that game. It would be a massive shock if Man City didn't score a goal tomorrow night, wouldn't it?
Oh, without doubt. I mean, the reason they won. I mean, you were talking about 3 defensive managers here, you know, and Spurs hit them in the break and caught them in the break. That's the only reason Man City and Spurs, to be fair, were excellent on the break, particularly with Harry Kane and so on. And it was big balls over the top at the end of the day, that bit Man City, you know. And like people were saying to me today about Haaland or whatever you call him. It will not make no difference what the Man City lineup is. This is the beauty about Spurs tomorrow night. It will not make no difference what the Man City lineup is. Spurs are playing the one way.
Well, we seen that, didn't we, in the away game when they were missing half their team and they went there and played the highline and they drew 3-3. So again, psychologically, Man City would have thought, you know what, this Spurs team now will suit us. They'll come out, they'll have a go, you know, and yet then Spurs go there, score 3 goals with numerous players. I think the midfield was Harbier, Skip, and Basuma. So, I mean, it didn't have, Celso was on there as well at times. You know, they were really short at the time on players. I think Emerson Royale and Ben Davis played at centre-back, and Spurs still go there and get a result. So, I mean, psychologically, all these sort of punches on the nose that Spurs have given them, some of the games they didn't play well and got a result, as you say, we counter-attack football. This time, go there. I think the Man City lineup was the weakest team we had fielded all season, because if you remember, Romero was suspended, Van de Ven was out, Bentancur was out, Maddison was out. You know, they were completely down to the bare bones for their midfield.
Which goes to prove that Ange's tactics is working. Because if he get a fella that hasn't played a game for 6 or 7, 8 matches, they go out on the pitch with the same philosophy and the same determination as James Maddison and
Mm.
know exactly how to play his plan and his way. That's fantastic. And that's what's
So I mean,
doing so well.
psychologically, Mickey, how do you think that'll affect the Man City players? Coming to the stadium, no Man City squad hasn't changed a lot. They maybe a couple on, couple out here and there, but a lot of them players have been there for the times they've lost at the Spurs stadium, and obviously that game a few weeks back when Spurs went there and got a draw. Spurs have good memories of playing Man City recently, whereas Man City don't.
Yeah, without doubt. And I think there's another big factor comes in. The fitness of the Spurs players is unreal.
Mm.
Uh, because the game that Ange once played with that quick one touch football, move forward very quickly, press very high, get back. And Mickey van der Vaan's back tomorrow night. I mean, Spurs will be playing two at the back tomorrow night. Yeah.
Mm.
There's no doubt about that. The two inverted fullbacks, they've got two wingers. And all they need to keep an eye on is the big man, that big boy. Can't even mind his name, Highland, ugly boy.
Well, Haaland's actually not fit.
Is he not fit? Well,
He's not back the next week, but De Bruyne is fit. We'll look at that. But I mean, that's the thing. You see, even with them players they were missing, Mickey, I was looking back at that Man City game. Spurs had 48% of the ball at Man City, so nearly 50-50. And Man City are a really possession-based control. They don't play the same kind of quick football Spurs do, but they're very much control it. They try to control it. Whereas against Spurs, especially in that second half, they had no control of that game, and that was with Spurs missing several key players.
Well, the intensity of Spurs play at the moment is unreal. It's the best in the Premiership. And I mean, they don't give you time to rest. And their fitness is definitely superior. And that's probably why we're getting a lot of injuries, which, as I say, I touched on earlier on, in Ange's first season Celtic manager, I mean, his players couldn't believe the fitness. They were getting injured left, right, and centre. Second season, he cut the injuries down by about 60%, because they were fit and ready to go for it. And especially hamstrings turning quick, moving quick. That's all it. And Man City will have to be on the ball tomorrow night to beat Tottenham.
I think that is a good point that you make, because I feel the same. If Man City will have to play near their best to get a result, because Spurs have been doing really well, especially at home. But I mean, the one thing that does slightly worry a wee bit, if Man City are at their best and they've been on a really good run of form, usually this time of the year they kick on and they run away with the league.
Yeah.
And Spurs are caught out with that high line. That it could be a tough night.
Well, I mean, that's where Mickey van der Vaan and Romero come on it, two quick centre backs. And I'm sure Ange will be very aware of that, And I think, I mean, what I seen of Van der Vaan the first 10 matches, unbelievable speed getting back, And I think that'll make Spurs more confident with them two guys on the pitch.
Mm.
And
the goalkeeper's done quite well as well when he's been called upon.
The high line, De Bruyne is balling over the top of them, was always going to Haaland, that you say is not on.
Mm.
So all I'm telling you is, I mean, Man City players on Pep will be telling 110% concentration tomorrow night, because Spurs will have it, And Spurs won't. I mean, Man City and Pep knows that Spurs won't stop. They're the 100 minutes. They're the whistle.
Calm saying Man City are playing very well at the moment, and they can embarrass anyone on their day.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I mean, but what he forget there, what he left out there is Man City are world champions, European champions, FA Cup holders, Premiership. I mean, obviously they're a good team. There's no doubt about that. And they have three squads. But listen, every team's good. It's a game of football at the end of the day. And by the way,
sorry, go ahead.
You need to be up for it. And Spurs will be up. Spurs are up for it. Spurs are an FA Cup team of their anything. They're an FA Cup team.
Maggie, let's focus on the game tomorrow night. I mean, we've mentioned his name several times. Ange confirmed he's fit and available to start the game tomorrow night, Maddison. I mean, how big of a boost is it for this man to come back? Because, if he wasn't the best, he was up in the top 2 or 3 for players of the season in them first 10 games. The football he was playing, the consistency levels, every team he come up against. You think about the Arsenal game away, he was, pulling the strings, spinning players left, right, and centre. Even the Chelsea game I was at, first 20 minutes, he was running that game before he get the red card and he went off injured. And when he plays, things do seem to happen quicker, and he does seem to sometimes two players. They mark him, gives our players space. I mean, he will make Spurs better, won't he?
Without doubt. Now, will they start tomorrow night? I was sort of doubt whether Ange will start him, but then I was surprised that Ange started Bentancur a few weeks ago. It's his first game in a long time. But without doubt, he can change the game. He'll just drum Spurs forward. And he's everywhere, a box-to-box player. Not afraid to take on an opponent. And opponents are afraid of him. He gelled very well with Son. I think he'll miss Son tomorrow night. There's no doubt about it.
Son has an outstanding record against Man City too.
But without him even kicking a ball for him to be in the dressing room tomorrow night, that's a big advantage for Tottenham. I'm sure he plays part. I would love to see him starting tomorrow night. But do you think Gareth last night they managed? You're a coach. You know what I mean?
Nah, I think what they'll do is they'll bring him on for 60, 70, and they'll bring him
back. I think I would have him on the bench. Serious back on the bench. Like they bring that man on for a half an hour if you're in Buller.
Well, this is the thing that could happen to us if the game's tight. Man City have been using De Bruyne off the bench in recent games as a bit like a trump card, where you've seen the Newcastle game is quite tight. He comes on, scores a goal, makes the winner, and he's I don't know whether this is something they've agreed on, but apparently he was saying in the interview after that he's just not ready to play anywhere near 90 minutes for a long time. Well, that's because they're worried about his injury happening again. They're just trying to manage him. I suppose Man City are that good. It's very rare anybody stuffs Man City. It's always tight games if they're beat. He can come on for 30 minutes and change the game if it's 1-1 or 2-1 or whatever, like he did against Newcastle. And how dangerous is it? Apart from Maddison's probably the only, apart from Maddison, De Bruyne would be the only player you would probably have over Maddison in that position in the league. How dangerous is that man coming off the bench tomorrow night?
Well, this is it. Both teams have 2 years cards, in De Bruyne and Maddison. And I'm sure they'll be very, very happy to have them. I'm not too worried about De Bruyne, to be honest. We played against De Bruyne, full 90 minutes against De Bruyne. They still haven't scored a goal against us, at the stadium. So I don't fear De Bruyne. I would have feared the big blondie boy, with the up and over. Look at the Jet Charlton. Ireland pass up to him from De Bruyne. But definitely, I didn't realise that Highland was out. So I would have no fear with Man City tomorrow, and the players will certainly have no fear. And as I say, it's not great for Tottenham. They have a trump card on the bench tomorrow night.
Well, this is that. A lot of talk in the media. Maybe if you remember back that Man City game where first half was quite ropey at times. Haaland had missed a great chance. Hit the post. They could have been 3 or 4-1 up, and then second half, to be fair, Spurs could have scored a few.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well, I suppose we probably know what Ange will do.
And Man City were shafted.
If it was you, would you tweak it a bit tomorrow night? Would you sit a wee bit deeper and close off the space and behind, respect Man City, or would you be like, nah, we'll do your own thing and we'll go for it?
And Ange ain't going to do that. You know what I mean? If Ange, he's playing 3-4-3 at the minute. He'll probably, if he decides to start with Maddison, he'll probably go 4-2-4, 4-2-4, but 4-2-3-1. You know what I mean? What's about Williams? And I would love to see him starting with Kulusevski and Maddison in midfield. You know what I mean?
And Bentancur behind him.
Oh Jesus! I'm 2 inverted fullbacks, acting as wingers, and just tick Man City out in the first 20 minutes, but they don't know what would happen.
I can see the confidence is really high, Mickey. As that down to the environment that Ange is creating, the football, the unity in the group that, compared to, I remember we were doing, as you say, the cup final 3 years ago, and not one of us had any optimism. It's a one-off game. Nobody thought they could get a result. Whereas tomorrow, you're kind of expecting a result. and even if they're beat, you'll be like disappointed.
What's
But
that?
you'll still be behind the team.
Well, for the first
You'll
time,
be disappointed more than you'll be angry, type of thing.
well, I haven't been disappointed in a Spurs match this season, even a loss. Seriously, and for the first time since 2019, I think, or 2018 maybe. And I go back to Poch's days because in 2019 when they got their Champions League final, the Champions League the run on the Champions League, Poch's days were numbered from the January before, like you know. I mean, they hadn't won. They didn't win an away match. Their Premiership form was going down and down and down.
Mourinho come on this first game and that away record ended. They went 11 months with no away one from January. From January to November, 10 months they went.
10 months, and really, the cracks were papered over with the brilliant run to the Champions League final, which was brilliant. It was great for us to watch, and we were delighted to watch it. And we didn't win an away match. From January, as you said, to November, 10 months without one, and that was all. See there, and at that time, I mind watching them games pre. Although I was delighted about the Champions League run, but I was going, fucking Spurs here. What Spurs is going to turn up today? That's the way it was with Poch's last season. You know what I mean? What Spurs are we going to get today? And it continued that with Mourinho, Conte. You just didn't know what Spurs were going to do. They were a counter-attacking team when they got the Mourinho and Conte. I mean, fair to Conte. Conte's first season was pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what he done or how he fucked up in the second season, but I mean, brutal.
Well, I think maybe Kane and Son's form maybe was peppering over a lot of the cracks.
But I think too, his man management had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And players weren't playing for him. I mean, the look in Harry Kane's face, even he didn't want to be there. But leaving that aside, my point is, for the first time ever, I can sit here now, and you can sit on the other side there down the muff, and you know how Tottenham's going to play them, aren't it? You know.
Interestingly, you mentioned his name there. Do you think Kane will be slightly regretting his decision to leave when he did? Because Bayern Munich, the minute doesn't look Kane. Because Bayern Munich, the minute aren't going that well. They're 4 points behind the league. Don't see them winning the Champions League. And the style of play is very much similar to Conte's counter-attack. Whereas he could have had, in this attacking system with the players, do you think he'll be looking back and thinking maybe he just left at the wrong time?
Well, so he's got his body over now, there, they cry on his shoulder, so that's what he sort of wanted. And then they have what do you call them? I mean, Bayern Munich's going to turn on the Spurs Old Boys Club,
Trying to get Trippier too, aren't they?
Trippier's coming out, and I think Højbjerg might be on his way too. And apparently they're looking for Lloris, for next season. So we're starting a Spurs supporters club away. No, but correct. I would say, he's playing. For me, I don't watch German football, right? It's the equivalent of the Scottish League to me. You know what I mean? There's a couple of teams on it, and that's it. It's like Celtic and Rangers. And I think, they're all on about Kane scoring 19, 21 goals in the Bundesliga. And fuck it, it comes to League Ireland. He'd score the same amount.
At the minute, his goals at the minute are going to mean exactly what the Spurs. Bayern Munich at the minute, they're probably second favourites. They won the league. If they finish second, them goals won't really matter to Bayern Munich. I just think there's 2 or 3 better sides in the Champions League too. I just don't see them winning. They're out of the cups. So unless they won the league or the Champions League, they're going to end up
they're in second place, like, on a 2-horse race. So and number 2. Well, in answer to your question, I definitely think he will be regretting it. He has to be sitting back there going.
He's hard to be broke if Son's lifting up that FA Cup at the end of the season, and he's sitting down.
I don't know if he gets match of the day out there, but he must be watching and going, Jesus Christ, if I'd have been there and I would have scored that goal. No,
Maddison.
There's no doubt about it. And his wife's probably hitting there with a fucking early bat saying, you drive me over to Germany.
Drag me to Germany, the freezing cold.
You know what I mean? We could have been sitting here now, and you would have been the king of the castle, like,
So, we have about 10 minutes to go here, so we'll finish off by talking about what we think will happen tomorrow night. as you say, you're very confident. I am confident as well. Not so much that I think we're definitely going to win, but I know, basically agreeing with you, that I know Spurs is going to turn up and give it their best. And for
Yeah,
me, that's all you can ask for. I worry a wee bit, and he has been playing well, Richarlison, just about, you've seen it against United. I'm not sure we have that clinical. We saw him not being there. We haven't got that clinical,
yeah.
even though Richarlison's been doing well. We've seen Werner. I think he ran, he tried hard, but if he's through 3 times, you wouldn't fancy him to score once type of thing. Whereas if Son's through 3 times, it's at least 2 goals.
Yes.
Johnson doesn't look like he's going to score anytime soon. But to be fair, Kulusevski, Maddison, Bentancur have all been chipping in. There's goals. Porro's chipped in with a couple. Romero was a threat from set pieces. So there's goals all around the team. But I'm just, against Man City, how many chances will you get? So that will be the only thing. But I totally share the confidence you have that we'll turn up and we'll play well. And Man City will have to play well they won.
Well, for the first time, I don't sit here worrying about if Spurs are going to win or lose. If Spurs lose, I know they're going to play their hearts out. Ange too, the way he's playing at the moment, the way the game he's playing. Ange can change the setup on the pitch tomorrow. He could use Kulusevski in midfield. He can use him up front if he wants. He can use him on the left hand side.
What would be your starting 11 tomorrow night? I know you're going to go with Vicario, Nets, who's been excellent. Right back, Porro. Left back, Udogie, Romero, and Van de Ven. So talk me through your front six, midfield three.
Well, I think we're all agreeing on that back five. That sets itself. If I was starting tomorrow night, and I think Ange, I was shocked when Bentancur hit the pitch, and I sort of believe, that Maddison's been ready the last couple of weeks, he was at a darts competition and all.
He was out in Dubai doing his individual work, then he done individual work at the ground, and then this week he done the team training. So for me, I think he's more than ready.
Ange wouldn't have let him out in public like the darts competition and stuff.
He was at the snooker too. And Masters the one Europe.
Maybe fell and hurt his leg or blah blah. So I believe that he's been ready for, and could be totally match fit. You don't know what they've been doing behind
closed doors.
Closed doors. You just don't know it. But I would love just to see Bentancur, right? Kulusevski, Maddison, right? Perfect look, right? That's your midfield.
Front three then.
Well, the front three, I think you've got to go with Johnson, probably Werner at the moment, and Richarlison.
That's a very attacking team, isn't it?
Oh Jesus, attacking. That's like Kamazazi. You go back to what do you call it?
Ozzy Ardiles.
When they attack Pearl Harbor, like, you know what I mean? No fucking bang, tick them out like in 15 minutes, shock and horror, But I don't. It may do that. I'll tell you, it would not surprise me. I was offered a job playing with a band tomorrow night in Belfast, right? From 6 to 8, and I turned it down.
So you only watch the game?
I'm leaving Belfast at 7 o'clock, and I'll be back here at about 8:15 to see a match.
Whereas last year, I'll do the gig.
Without doubt. Last year, I wouldn't even have turned the TV on to watch them.
I think the team that you mentioned there won't be far off, because I'm thinking about it in my head. He hasn't got many more options. We saw him not being there. Exactly. The Suma and Sar ain't there. So, he hasn't. Højbjerg's only played when he's required him. Skip seems to be higher up the pecking order than Højbjerg, because I think they are trying to move Højbjerg on him. Possibly the talk is Conor Gallagher. Whether that happens now or the summer, it's probably not going to happen now. There's only 5 or 6 days left in the window. So, for me, I think, will he go for the more solid Højbjerg or Skip, or will he throw Kulusevski in the middle? And I think he's going to I think he's going to go FA Cup. Let's go for it.
Well, I hope he does. But the only real change he can make is, if he decides to play Kulusevski and he doesn't play in midfield, well, he has to sacrifice Johnson for Kulusevski. He benches Johnson, and he plays Skip in midfield.
I think Kulusevski plays better in the middle.
Sorry?
I actually think Kulusevski plays better in the middle, but
Oh fuck, yeah. Well, he was brilliant when he did play in the middle. You know, it
Mm.
was like he had a free role to do whatever he wanted.
And if we can get Richarlison as good with his feet as he is with his head, we've got some player because he's brilliant on the air.
Well, to be fair to Richarlison, he's not a Harry Kane. He's never going to be, and it's unfair to compare him to Harry Kane. People say, "No, Harry Kane would have brewed that," blah 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 blah, and his confidence come back very slowly. But see the work he does off the ball and the holding up, and he's brilliant in the air. You know what I mean? You've got to give the man credit. And like that's why Ange is playing him. I mean, it's easy for Spurs players to criticise. All right, he gets 3 shots on target. There's a couple. To be fair, there was a couple that he should have buried. You know what I mean? But look, he's not Harry Kane. You can't expect him to be Harry Kane. And he's a great squad player, in my opinion. Very good squad player. And young Johnson too. Like to be fair, I've given him serious abuse.
You were harsh on him after that United game.
Jesus Christ, it was unreal. But I think the young fella's problem is he can't read the game. He doesn't seem to. It's not quick. It doesn't seem to be quick enough to react to what's coming from the midfield. I don't know. I always says Teddy Shanahan could really, read 3 moves ahead. You know what I mean? Glenn Hoddle was the same. In the years gone by, Glenn knew where a player was going to be. 3 moves ahead, and it's the same. It was telepathic, the same as Kane was with Sean. I mean, Kane didn't have to look up. He knew where Sean was.
Maddison seems to be like that. He seems to be 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Well, Maddison, but Maddison's a great player, and he knows what he's going to do, and he knows instinctively if he's not getting the ball in midfield, they go back for it. And he gives a boy a kick up the arse if he's not doing it. Say, what are you fucking at? I'm sitting here. You want me to come back to my ball? Pass it to me. Get on there and pass it. So I think, look, it's a very young team, and I think young Johnson will come good. I think maybe it's a lack of confidence in the man. He's under serious pressure, but I haven't seen him crossing a decent ball yet. Jesus Christ! I mean, that's all. I
think sometimes he just the way the word looks on his shoulders, but I'm sure he will at that sometime.
It's a good job for him, and they've paid big money for him, so
that's not easy as well.
But I would say he'll be the only sacrifice tomorrow night. If depending where Ange decides to play Kulusevski.
I think he'll go for it. I think he'll play the team you named.
I'll tell you what, if I see the lineup and the 2 boys are in midfield and one the toilet, you know what I
mean? Mickey, how do you see the game going tomorrow night then? What's your prediction?
I reckon 3-2 Spurs. Definitely, Man City will break their duck tomorrow night.
I agree. Funny enough, I have that score prediction in my head too. I'm going to go for a 3-2 as well. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be an absolutely brilliant watch. Probably be, it's one of them games where you're going to be breathless because I think it'll just be end. I think it'll be end to end just.
And no matter who wins, whoever wins will deserve to go through, but it'll be a crack. I mean, they're 2 fantastic teams,
And there's also the possibility that it could be a draw, and we do it all over again in 10 days' time.
Fuck, great. Happy days. You know what I mean? That would be brilliant. But, no, I'm definitely very confident. And it just, it's brilliant to sit here now in the house tonight, and I know how Spurs are going to play tomorrow night. They're going to have the high line, they're going to be sitting,
Now, you'll wake up tomorrow with a buzz of the match and looking forward to it all day, whereas you wouldn't have done that in previous seasons. Mickey, it's been brilliant having you on again. You hoping to get back over to the stadium again, or I know you're flat out with work, but
I'm going to get over. I'll get over it before. I'll get over it before the end of the season, definitely. A matter of fact, I might. The FA Cup goes midweek.
There's a midweek round out.
If they progress, obviously, probably the sixth round goes midweek, and maybe the quarterfinals go midweek. So it'll definitely be a midweek match, but it'll be worth traveling to. I mean, yourself, Gareth. You go to London, you're going to spend $1,000, It's not Newcastle and Manchester, So if you're going over to spend big dough, all you want is, I don't mind going to a Spurs match if I'm entertained,
Well, you're going to get that now, certainly.
and it's a great stadium. But no, definitely looking forward to tomorrow. Very confident, and playing the world champions, playing the holders. I mean, what better way to go through in the FA Cup?
100%. James is saying, "Come on, Spurs." He's a Liverpool fan. He just wants to see Man City get beat. Mickey, thanks for coming on again. Brilliant. What we
Sorry
have
for
coming.
the tonight, but I just
You're right. Sure, we got it done then. Quite a good show. Really enjoyed it. Usually on one here, like there's usually loads of different topics because there was really no games this weekend or in this game. Liverpool United have handy draws, nothing really to chat about. So it was quite good, refreshing to chat about Spurs quite a bit tonight.
I'm not a big
here in your review.
Thank God you didn't ask me about Man City because the only two players I know is De Bruyne and that big boy Island.
I know you're very much centralised around Spurs.
I don't actually. I mean, I couldn't name the Man United team, which you can all the time. You know the way you bring boys on there and they go, this boy's that now. I wouldn't have a clue. All I concentrate on is Tottenham.
And that's a great way to be. Mickey, I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon for a game. It's been brilliant having you on. What we have coming up, we're going to be reviewing this Spurs Man City game on Monday and looking ahead to the midweek games in the Premier League, which includes Liverpool against Chelsea on the Wednesday night. Your brother Mark's going to the game with a crowd, so good luck, Mark, at Anfield. I'm actually myself on the same night going to the Brentford game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So we'll be looking ahead to all them games midweek as the Premier League returns. Now we've had winter break, we've had FA Cup in between, so the Premier League is back now in full swing from Tuesday this week. Mickey, absolutely brilliant to have you on. Keep her lit and come on the Spurs.
Keep her lit, come on you Spurs, and let's get through tomorrow night.